introducing the map from turkeyseason.com. Season dates, bag limits, license costs for all 49 states with the wild turkey season, curated into one easy-to-use interactive map. Statistical data shows spring harvest date totals for each state. Historical weather data will allow the out-of-state hunter to easily see weather conditions they will face during their spring hunting season. Zone maps provide information for licensing requirements, draws or quota hunts, and variances in season start dates across individual states. Visit turkeyseason.com and click on the map.
Before you hit record, I've learned that over the years. My voice has been a little scratchy. I've been as sick as a dog the last couple of days. Actually, it'll be a week tomorrow that I started feeling weird. Like I could feel like, okay, I'm getting sick. And then, like Wednesday night, I was laid up. I don't even remember Thursday and Friday. I feel great, but my voice is still, like, at the end of the day, it's still kind of scratchy and I have to struggle. And
you sound like an old raspy hen.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I was telling one of my friends, I'm like, he's doing his job. He works for like a company. They make like safety harnesses for industrial applications. And so they're coming out with some new products. And I was like, hey, if you need a voiceover guy, if you get me at like 5 a.m., I sound like Morgan Freeman. Yeah. Because I've been laying flat all night. My voice is all raspy. And I was like, so if you need a poor man's Morgan Freeman, let me know. I'm for hire. But at 9:00 in the evening, I just sound like a raspy hen.
Old raspy hen, the boss hen.
That's it. So I'm glad you listened to that episode. I didn't realize how like deep turkey hunting like culture and roots went, because like for most hunters, like, and like you guys especially, that's why I feel like you guys are like more prepared to talk about this than most people that I know. But like when we talk about like heritage and culture, it is like what's directly in front of us, or our dads or our grandparents or whoever it is. And even then, some people forget that. I saw someone told me just the other day, excuse me, I'm going to do this all night, so I'm going to have a lot of editing to do.
That's okay.
I was shocked that 1 out of 10 Americans can name their great grandparents.
No kidding.
Really?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
One out of 10.
And I've been so fortunate, because I grew up with my grandpa. We were so close, and my dad, and I don't want to say I didn't appreciate it, but I didn't know no better. That was just the way of life, my dad and my grandpa, and getting to hunt with them. And then of course my grandpa and dad, he was, I think you were 15 or 16 years old when my great grandpa Lawrence passed away. So I had tons of stories. I never met him. He passed away before I was born, but I feel like I know him because I heard so many stories. Matter of fact, right before we came on, Daddy showed me a picture, and we had a picture of his tombstone, and he was born in 1894, 92, and got there's a turkey engraved on his headstone. Yep. Mm-hmm. So
wow.
And my great grandmother, my great grandmother passed away when I was 3 months old, but my great grandfather was well before. But he was a big turkey hunter, and it shows on his gravestone there the turkey in full strut.
Man, that's so cool. And we talk just that those roots run so deep in your family, and there's a part of me that is exceedingly jealous about that. It's I all night. So my dad didn't hunt. My grandpa and my great grandpa, they both did. And I was born in 82. My grandpa died in 74, and my great grandpa died in like 57. So I am well past their time.
Right.
But I was just telling the story to a friend the other day. They both hunted, and so at one point, like I was going through when my grandma died in West Virginia. My family's from West Virginia. We went through all of her stuff, and I was going through like all these trunks, and I found all their old hunting licenses, and I found like harvest records, that they had taken, and processing where they'd taken it, and it's kind of neat through. So it would have been my grandpa, it was his brother, so it was I guess great uncle.
Mm-hmm.
He's still alive, still kicking. His name's Charlie, and he processes deer, loves to turkey hunt, and so like I've gotten to know those hunters in my family through him, which is pretty cool. But when my grandma died, I got a bunch of Winchester 97 shotguns and like these single. I got one sitting over here. It's a single shot, like what you'd buy out of like a Sears catalog, and the stock's broken and it's like taped up, and it's neat to have it. But when I was younger, and I found out how much a Winchester 97 is worth, I had 6 of them. I sold 5 of them. Because I didn't know any better. Yeah, I didn't know what you had. Yeah. And it wasn't, and so now that I'm 41, I have perspective. It's not the money that I care about now at this point. It's the fact that like I would
sentimental value.
Yeah, man, and it like breaks my heart, but I don't know. So I'm jealous. That's a long ass story to tell you I'm jealous.
Well, talking about the old shotguns this year, I don't want to spoil the upcoming season for Team Wingbone on the videos, but we took my grandpa's old Remington 1100, and I saw that thing kill the first turkey I ever saw killed, and I don't know how many more after that. And we took it this year, and it would only shoot one time. It wouldn't cycle, So I worked on it,
really?
Talked to people. I couldn't get it to shoot but one time, and me and Daddy decided to say, well, we're still going to do it. So we brought it out and killed a turkey this year in Mississippi with it, and got it all on film. And he called it Betsy. Betsy stayed in the corner of the house, and it was home protection, and it was turkey hunting gun, deer hunting gun, everything, and but he had her name Betsy, and we always laughed. He told Mama, he said if his eyesight started getting worse on him when he got older, he told her, he said, if anybody ever breaks in the house, you hit the floor because I'm shooting everything waist high.
Just hit the dirt.
Hit the dirt.
That's funny. That's a good old security system there. Now, Gobbler, did you get to kill any turkeys with that when you were younger? Did your dad let you have a crack on old Betsy?
No, I had a Remington 870 pump that he got me when I was 10 years old, and I still have it today. And actually, I killed the Grand Slam with it. These guys, they shoot the 3.5 inch shells, and I used the 870 to kill it, and they kept wanting me to upgrade to the 3.5 inch. I said, well, why? I killed the Grand Slam with the 2 3/4 inch, 28 inch barrel 870 pump, and still have it today. And I'll be 72 this year. And he mentioned Grandpa Lawrence, who is my grandfather, the one that was born in 1892. He died at 72. So when I read that tombstone tonight with the the emblem of the turkey on it, I said, I'm 72. And I said, that kind of, you have to step back and really appreciate how time flies. But
and Daddy, he's still in good shape. He still goes with me. I mean, he's there step. Although this year I did a couple of those mountains we were in Kentucky last year. He said, "You go ahead. I'll be right here. I'll keep a course on him."
Yeah,
I have lost a step. I can tell you that. So you got to give the young. Yeah, you got to give the young guys a little chance.
Right, that's it. That's just it's out of the kindness of your heart. Level play.
That's right.
That's good. That's good stuff. There aren't many absolutes in turkey hunting or in life in general, right? But I think that most people can say unequivocally that an 870 has killed more turkeys than anything else in this country. Yeah, I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything else.
It's a 28 inch full choke, and we use it, for turkey, we deer, we squirrel, we rabbit, we use it for everything, and still have it today. So it'll be his one day.
That's really cool. That's good stuff. I want to. I have this book, and so I don't know if you guys can see that.
The Hunter's Encyclopedia.
Yeah, the new Hunter's Encyclopedia, and so I've talked about it on a couple shows. And I walked into a bookstore and it was $15. I kept the receipt or the price tag. And so what it is it's from 1966. So it's rules and regulations and harvest data and just techniques from 1965 and from so all the data from 65. And what's really interesting is it's got, I'll try to show this to you and to, so here's Louisiana. So it's got all,
Yeah.
I got to figure out how to move this thing. It's like playing a video game.
Yeah.
Backwards here. And so it's got, so some states that were releasing harvest data, it will have harvest data on it, but I'm going to read you. So it's not long. So if you guys will indulge me, I want to read your home state, Louisiana.
Absolutely. Would
If
love
that's
to hear
okay.
it.
Absolutely.
So this is pretty neat. So this is a general summary. Gives the area of Louisiana. Give me a guess, Steve. What do you think the area of your home state is in square miles?
Clue. I'll make a fool of myself if I tried to guess.
Yeah.
48,523 square miles. To be exact. And
it's a lot of ground to
to
cover.
That is, and it might be a little less now with coastal erosion.
Yeah.
That's right.
So this is where it gets interesting. So hunters in Louisiana take about 24,000 deer, and the state Wildlife and Fisheries Commission is working towards a sustained annual kill of 60,000 or more. Stocking to create new herds, control of free-ranging dogs. I'm assuming there was just a big feral dog problem in 1966 in Louisiana. I thought that was interesting. Improved law enforcement and an extension of antlerless deer hunting are the ingredients of the program. Bear hunting, although still on a limited basis, has also been improved considerably in recent years. Hunting is permitted annually in several places. Louisiana is most famous for its superb waterfowl hunting, lying at the mouth of Mississippi Flyway, and an abundance of marshes and bayous. Excuse me. It is the wintering grounds for countless ducks and geese. This I always like reading these. If you go through all these southern states, and there's always something in here. The farmlands of the state furnish outstanding dove and quail shooting. Quail hunting was like at its peak. I feel like in '66 because it is in this book, and so here's they talk about it constantly. I mean, it was the heyday, I guess. Here's the only part we get right. Turkeys are abundant throughout its woodlands. That's it.
Really?
That's it.
Well, we can vouch for that, at least in our area, which would be east of Baton Rouge, So.
Yeah. So we'll skip some of the other stuff. They talk about gray squirrels and it's neat. Timber stand improvement work being conducted by landowners favor the spread of like smaller game species. So talking about landowner cooperation and with the agencies. So here's the other part about turkey. In addition to the general turkey season in fall, Louisiana has a spring gobbler season, which I think in '66 there was just a handful of states that had spring gobbler seasons. And I know Ohio, we started our first modern spring season was in 1966, which didn't even make it in the book because it was everything from 65. Gobbler, you might remember. Go ahead.
That was probably one of the earlier states too, right? That opened up in the 60s, because a lot of them were later than that, I believe.
Yeah, I think that was like the trap and transfer, the restocking efforts had started to like from just talking to other people. They were still ongoing for even to this day. But at that time, they had been fairly successful, and states were starting to see some of that hard work pay off. How much was a resident hunting license in 1966?
You were too young to buy one then.
I was too young to buy one.
Okay.
I would probably say, $20 max.
$2.
Really?
Yeah, $2. A non-resident was $25. A non-resident 2-day was $5. A big game and a turkey tag was $2. So if you lived in the state of Louisiana and you $4, you could hunt turkeys in the spring.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Talk about inflation, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So this is neat. The state has used live trapping and transplanting in successful efforts to extend the range in numbers of deer, black bears, turkeys, and other species. Is also experimenting with the release of exotic birds such as black francolins. I don't know. Are those a thing in Louisiana? Well,
No, I don't even know
experiment.
what
I
that
guess
I
the
is.
don't know.
I
experiment
couldn't even
wasn't
identify
successful.
one.
I have no idea.
It must have
Red,
died out.
yeah, red jungle fowl. Is that a thing down there? No.
No,
Okay.
Never heard of that.
not unless
In
we
the
calling them something else, huh?
yeah, you might be. And the Japanese green pheasant. So
I've
that's
never seen a pheasant in Louisiana, not a
Never.
wild
Yeah.
one, anyhow.
yeah, that's it. That's the Louisiana. Uh, that's the Louisiana entry in 1966. And some of the states they're more robust. They've got harvest estimates, but I think it's neat even with what's there. I mean, you see like turkey's just like even an afterthought then. It was very much deer and waterfowl, ducks and waterfowl.
Right,
Or,
right. But,
Mm-hmm.
so
but according to my grandpa, in the even in the 30s and 40s, there was an abundance of turkeys, and 40% of our parish was or it actually still is owned mostly by the company Weyerhaeuser. It used to be Crown Zeller way back in those days.
Timberland
It
Company.
was Timberland Company,
okay.
and they owned like a majority of our property. My grandpa told me one time, he said I could have bought every acre in Livingston Parish for a quarter an acre. I said, man, why didn't you buy us 10,000 acres? He said, I didn't have 25 cents, son. Of course, that was back to Great Depression, but with the company land there, timber company land, it was perfect habitat. He said, they allowed the locals to run their cows in the woods. They had tame hogs, but they also ranged free. And the woods were just wide open. A lot of the old timers, they burned their property, and they would burn some of the surrounding property and all, which had a was a turkeys too, and I think that's why they had an abundance of turkeys in our area. It was just beautiful, a lot of hardwoods, creek bottoms, and stuff like that.
Because when I was growing up, at where my grandfather lived, where the gobbler was born at and everything, it was like I said, they'd have 10 or 15 acres there that they owned, but then all around them was Timberland Company, and they would let you. It was free range. I mean, they would let you hunt it. It was no leases or anything of like that. I mean, it was wide open, and that's how I grew up hunting. And if somebody had a piece of property and they knew you from the community, they'd let you hunt it or what it was. It was wide open.
But sadly now, because of this progress, I guess you would call it, they've cut probably 80 or 90% of it. So it's primarily pines and pretty thick. That's why the habitat went away, and so did the turkey population. We still have pockets of some pretty good populations, but it's not like it was.
And of course, the storms later on in the years, like in the 2000s and all, the hurricanes would come through and devastate the hardwood in the areas, and that would have an effect on them too. But like Steve said, Lil Turkey Hunter said, we live in the boot of Louisiana, and it's always been abundance with turkeys. We've been very fortunate, and that's what I grew up, hunting, because we hunted all over Louisiana, primarily in the boot, and then we migrated to Southwest Mississippi later on. But
so that's when I came along, started dragging me behind. It was in the early 80s, 82, 83, and they were already in Mississippi by then. So that's where I started hunting, really. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older that we started hunting around here. And actually, I didn't kill my first turkey in our home state till I was a teenager, but before that, I'd killed several turkeys in Mississippi,
Now, give everyone listening your real names and your nicknames.
Okay,
Let's get
my
everyone
name.
caught up to speed.
My name's Stephen Howze, and called Lil Turkey Hunter.
And I'm James Howze, and my name is Turkey Hunter. And then my dad, his father was the god, and my grandfather was Lawrence Howze, the one that we talked about earlier with the turkey on his tombstone. And I often think about that older generation back then, because those guys had to hunt for recreation. They had to hunt to put food on the table, and that's what I remember growing up with. I was probably, it was up into the 80s and 90s before I ever ate a domestic turkey. It was always wild turkey that we ever ate, because they killed them, and
I always kind of chuckle on the inside when I see the hashtag save the legs, because with Pawpaw and his generation, and I growing up, I was probably 20 years old before, we didn't pick the whole turkey. He picked him clean, top to bottom. We had the, I can still see him holding the back legs and Daddy holding the head. And I had the paper bag, you used to get at the grocery store. It'd light the end of it and it'd singe him, and he'd burn all those little pin feathers, little hairs off of
we
it.
picked every
Single turkey. We'd have a freezer full of big butter balls.
Oh my gosh.
It's a chore.
And I was probably 20 years old, and I cut the first breast out, and of course I skinned it and cut the thighs and all that, and took care of that. But from not picking it all, he was so mad at me, he wouldn't talk to me for a week.
That's funny. That's a great story. It's one of those just like generational disconnects, I guess. When we've got, I forget who I was talking. It might have been Dave Owens. I think I was talking with, where, he's goodness. He made the comment the reality is, a huge majority of the turkey hunters out there we're doing it because we love to do it. We're not doing it because if we don't do it, we're going to go hungry and die, or if we missing a meal, we just do it because we love it. But we're not that far removed from guys like, well, you just said your dad and grandpa that did it to keep the tummies full. And that's a real thing. Yeah, and we don't understand that.
My grandfather, when I was young, and I vividly remember him, and but he was conservationist of the family, and this is before they had wildlife and fisheries or game and fish or whatever, and he was always he'd find a nest in the woods, and he'd try to raise some, and he'd turn them loose, and he'd try to keep his thumb on some of the next generation coming, because they wanted to see who could kill the most, because they didn't really have a saving that didn't have limits, or not way back there. And but he was a conservationist of the area. He wanted to let them go, guys. Let them let them seed, let them raise. Don't kill all your seed.
Wait, I'm understanding that you had a good resource to take care of it, because if you didn't, it's up to the hunters to take care of that resource and not overuse it. So
that's what
and those guys like that.
It's talking with Brent Rogers. We were talking about turkey hunters and kind of that staple year that he was talking about, 1898. And it's neat when you look at like market hunting and the pressures that were put on wild game populations, that the ones that were like, hey, stop, were hunters. And it wasn't anti-hunters, non-hunters. It was from within the group. They're like, well, we're not doing this right. So that's a neat legacy that that your family's a part of. Turkey Hunter, when did you start tagging along on turkey hunts?
Oh, I can remember. Probably 8, 9 years old, because we would always go to my grandfather's on the weekend, and we would hunt and do everything. And I can vividly remember I would go along. I'd either have a 410 or I'd go with them, and this is before camouflage. We wore blue jeans or green shirt, they would drag me along, put me in the woods, and sit me down, and they would preach to me, "You got to be still." And that's when we learned to put the leaves on the logs, and they'd put the leaves on your blue jeans, and you can't move, and mosquitoes were eating you up, and this is way pre thermocell days, and they would put something called 612 on you. It was a mosquito repellent that you'd rub on you like a baby oil or whatever. I can still remember the smell today, and what I would have give for the modern day vest with a seat in it or a gobbler chair to sit down and be. I mean, I could have, but for an 8-year-old to sit still and with no action going on, it was trying, and I'm sure I worked on their nerves, but that's the way I learned up, because there was no, like I said, we wore just normal clothes, and but it was fun. I remember, and but the old timers, my grandfather, they were very secretive on where the turkeys were and where the one gobbled or whatever, and they were very competitive, but the old saying is because we almost exclusively use the wing bone until we'll use a box call if the wind's blowing real hard or whatever, because it carries much further than a wing bone. But people outside the family would always ask the gobbler and his dad or my grandfather, how do you use the wing bone? And their pat answer was always, put something in front of me and I'll show you.
So, in other words, they wanted somebody to tell them where a turkey was at.
Yeah. I love how.
But no,
go ahead.
No, I was just just for those, and it's we went way more times and not hear a turkey gobble than later on in life. They were there, but I guess they were, they just a lot, whatever. But I often reminisce those days, and we'd ride a horse a lot of times from the house and go up into the timberland company. That's how we got to them. I mean, that's how we would go. And we didn't have cable. We didn't have much of anything to do, but we hunted, and that's what we enjoyed doing, and that's how we do it.
No Onex.
No Onex.
No Onex.
No pins.
Just look at whatever you see with your eyes, right? That's it.
That's
the map.
That's it.
And I think that's what made those hunters, those old timers like that so good. They stayed in the woods, working cows and just working and hunting and all like that. Yeah. And they were super good woodsmen, and that Onex, I know we all rely on it. Lord knows I do. I think that's part of the lost art of it too, being able to navigate throughout the woods and without that technology, So it was amazing to me how, like way back in the day, how we even got to turkeys, and you'd mark one, but it was by, just different geographical features or something like that. Trying to navigate back in there before dark was a challenge.
It was very much so.
I even think, I feel like maybe 2019, 2018, maybe not much earlier than that was like the first year that I used OnX. I don't even remember what it was like before that. Like what did I do?
That's right. And sometimes you'd hear a turkey gobble in the evening time. You had to put the Coke can in the tree so it would reflect the next morning when you come riding through there in the truck.
How many times did we do that?
That's good. I like that. I love the links and the stories that you get from these old timers. Your dad and granddad and the links that they went to hide the information, to hide their skill. I mean, they really expended a ton of energy being secretive.
Oh,
absolutely.
And it was funny. We make jokes of that all the time between the group. I mean, here we are posting it, filming a hunt, posting it on there, and we're putting it on the social media, and that's just part of the changing times, But when I was young, when I killed my first turkey, that like it was yesterday. I was 10 years old, and my grandpa Perch, you remember him? That's Jason Harris.
Yeah.
He's group, and his dad. We were up in Mississippi, and all four of us together. We were in an Oldsmobile car and went to the place. And long story short, Papa called the turkey up. And I killed it in the trunk of the car. And we're driving back towards the camp and pull into the gas station, and I'm just about come apart to tell somebody and show somebody that I'd killed my first turkey. I was sitting there pumping, and the guy on the other side of the pumps, he's pumping gas, and he sees us in camouflage, and he's like, "Y'all do any good this morning?" And Papa just looks at me, and I'm like, "I said, we ain't heard nothing."
We ain't heard nothing. That's it. Just wear a shirt that says we ain't heard nothing.
But that we ain't heard nothing.
Yeah, that's funny. I hunted with an old turkey hunter this year, and we had just got out of the truck, and we were on some big piece of public land, and there was a vehicle coming down, and he just dives over this little ridge and tucks in, and he's like, "Get over here!" We're laying on we're flat on the ground. I mean, this is 4 a.m. He's like, "We don't want anyone to know there's turkey hunters out here." I'm like, all right, no, I get it, man. I totally get it. When we were, my son and I, we'd go out to public land here in Ohio. If there was a car in front of us or there was a car coming up behind us, I'm either speeding to pass you or I'm speeding to stay out of you, because
That's right.
Mind, that's right.
In my mind, everyone's going to the same parking spot that I'm going to.
That's right.
And the reality is that the 200 times that it happened, no one ever went to the same parking spot. But in my mind, I'm like, they're going to get to our turkeys first. We got to get there. We're doing 85 mile an hour to 40. Yeah.
I know the feeling.
We've been there and done that.
Know the feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. It don't ever change, right? That's ingrained in all of us, I think, deep down. So.
Oh, absolutely. And then, up there where we hunt at, we've hunted up there so long. A lot of them know our vehicle, so we've links to in the day to park truck. We knew we wasn't going to get on one and go somewhere else just to decoy. So, but that was all part of the fun and games between the buddies,
Yeah. No, that is funny. I forget. I was talking to a guy. His name's Pete. He runs a place in New York called Turkey Trot Acres. Great guy. Pete and Sherry, his wife. And they do a lot of fall turkey hunts, and just really good people. And they've got a wonderful lodge there. And he told me about his first out-of-state turkey hunt. He went to Alabama, and this would have been early 70s. And so he gets down there, and he's like, "Oh, it's just long-haired hippie with New York plates. How do you think that went?" And he ended up in the back of a sheriff's car on the first trip down there. Because he's like, I think I was the first Yankee that they'd ever seen turkey hunting, and he's like, people were following me, and I was like, "Well, what'd you do?" He's like, "I rented a car," whatever. I don't know. So, yeah, just to blend in. But I thought that was, I mean, we do it now. You drive by and you're like, guy's got out of state plates, and then 2 days later, I'm that guy hunting, 2 states away.
In
Parking
another
backwards.
state.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's it.
Steve, you sent me a text. You said you guys had a letter that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
that you were telling me. Yeah,
do.
let's talk about that. Let's dive into that.
You was telling us. All right. We were cleaning out at my grandma and grandpa's house a while back, and found a whole bunch of letters, and what probably 90% of the letters was my grandpa writing to his girlfriend, which was grandma, but before it was grandma, and writing letters to her. And they actually lived in the same town, but it was still about probably 20 minutes away, at that time because of the roads. So he would write letters to her, and that got to her faster than, you didn't have telephones back.
Yeah.
So, the wife, she was going through there, and she's cracking up, dying laughing, because you can hear his personality in the letters, you know.
Oh
And
wow.
Now this is the gobbler talking to
Okay.
Granny Gobbler, if you will. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
and it's right and it's right after World War II. He was in World War II, and he had
Wow.
just got back home. And of course, his mom said he was the only son of his dad and mom. He had two sisters, so
Okay.
he was the only son. She said if he makes it back alive from World War II, he won't have to do nothing but hunt, fish, and eat the rest of his life, you know. So he said, hey, I mean, I got it made, you know, mama's going to cook, I'm going to hunt and fish. So, but then he met grandma, and he met my grandma, and that got changed. But anyway, he wrote a letter, and my wife's reading all these, and like I said, laughing, and she gets to this one. She's like, oh yeah, you're going to want to see this one. So he said, we talk about writing it, so I have all the time, but I don't. Here it is, 30, and I'm in a hurry. No kidding, I don't have time to turn around. There is someone older than me to go turkey hunting with them. There are two men coming tomorrow, also Governor Jimmy Davis, of all people. And it's postmarked April 6, 1946. So
Wow.
I don't know if all the people in Louisiana are very familiar with Jimmy Davis. He wrote the song and sang "You Are My Sunshine." He was a country music singer, you know.
Yeah.
And he was governor from, I think, 1944 to like 1948. He came down and went hunting with Pawpaw. So
wow.
Yeah.
Now
that's
James,
his way of, you know, you can't call your girlfriend. You gotta you tell her I'm busy. So he was trying to tell her, I can't write you because I'm going turkey hunting.
Yeah. Can't turn around. Now, James, had you heard that story before?
Yes, I had. I'd heard it. I didn't see the letter. It'd been a long time since but I remember the governor coming out there and hunting with them, and he was just as down as if I wasn't there. But he, you know, just Dad said nice as he could be, and I think they actually killed a turkey. Did
they?
I think
No
they
kidding.
did. Yeah. So that was kind of neat and funny,
Yeah.
but
Man, that's
and
really.
of course
that's
you need
so
to
cool.
tell Paul tell him about the Wingbone since you more.
Oh
too.
yeah, you know, my grandpa, he was drafted in 1942. And that was always the family joke when he would be telling someone, you know, like 1942, it'd be like, dang, how old was you? And he said, oh, they took me out of the ninth grade. And really, the ninth, how old were you? Oh, I'm, you know, 18 in the ninth grade. So we'd all laugh about that, you know. So grandma said he didn't go to school half the time. He was, but anyway, he got drafted. And one of the things he brought with him was his wingbone turkey call.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was stationed in basic training camp. And he went through all that. And he got to come home a few times, you know, for a week or so. Then when they shipped out, he said the last thing he saw was the Golden Gate Bridge at World War II, and stayed over to ended. He was in the Pacific, South Pacific theater over there. And then when they came back, he always, the whole war, he kept that wingbone with him, and he kept it in his metal, the aluminum, so it wouldn't get crushed. And he said when they come back and got off the ship, they had to start turning in all their equipment, and they had a big pile, and they were making them throw those mess kits in a pile. And he said he was so glad to be home, didn't think about it, and threw it over in that pile. And when he got on the bus in San Francisco to come home, he said they put it driving, took off, and he realized I don't have my wing bone, but he said I wasn't about to turn around. I was ready to get home. So
Yeah.
the one, when he got home, that was the first order of business, was to make a wing bone, and that's the one we have in our pictures and all that.
That's
from
the
back
one
then.
the one we used.
That was the one that caught
No
turkey.
kidding.
Daddy's first turkey.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we venture to say he was probably the only serviceman that went to war with him in his pocket.
Oh, absolutely. Man, what a cool story. I can't imagine. I bet there was that, like you said, there was that moment where he's like, crap, I don't know, I left my damn wing bone. And it's like, I don't care. Like I'm home.
I don't
Scatter.
care.
That's
I
it.
want to go home. I want to go
Yeah.
home. And there was 5 of them from around, and they actually all ended up together. They were on an anti-aircraft group, and in those 5 states, all 5 of them made it, and they were on the bus with him. So I'm sure he didn't want to leave his friends either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chance it on the wing bone. So
Man, what a story. Did he have any turkey hunting buddies that he was over there with?
none of the turkey hunting buddies that I know of over there. Now he had family that was over there, and some friends later on that he knew. I guess he knew.
Uncle Bobby Ray and Uncle
Bob-
Kearney, and they were there.
Uncle Kearney was his brother-in-law, so I guess he knew of some of them, but they wasn't actually together. They were all scattered out. My grandma said she can remember when she was in high school, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, there wasn't a boy in the school. They were all
at war.
So
Yeah. I wonder, did he ever talk about hitting that wingbone call out there and on a ship in the Pacific?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He said one part of the funny story was he said when he saw, last thing he saw was the Golden Gate Bridge, and for days he didn't eat nothing but apple because he was sick. It's the only thing he ate was apple. So I doubt he practiced on it then. But yeah, he was using it. That's what he said. He kept it with him throughout the whole war and practiced on it routinely.
Wow. I'm sure there's
so
some.
there was a.
Go ahead.
I was say there was a wing bone in New Guinea and the Philippines that's been used to just practicing.
Yeah. That's so cool. I'm sure someone, I can imagine that someone was going through those mess kits, or I don't know, maybe they just scrapped them and they probably opened that up. And they're like, what is this thing? They probably had no idea what this thing is. So
why this guy is chicken and throw the wing back in here?
Right, exactly. Oh man, that's good. That's a good story. Tell the we've done one podcast before, and you told me about how like your gobbler would kill turkeys and started making the wing bones and was giving them away, and then people were, and it was really funny because he just said like how proud he was of people using his calls. Talk about just kind of like the wing bone just cementing it, I guess, family legacy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was at early age, and he was for be asking, can you make me a wing bone? Can you wing bone? And many as he could, he would make them. He never sold one. Just gave them away, and that's kind of been the thing that we've been doing on our one video each year is we make one identical replica of what we have, and then we just give it away, on videos. And but he would make that, and people would ask for it. And I got one friend of mine, he's about my age, and Papa made one from him. He uses it every year turkey hunting, and then he goes and puts it in the lockbox at the bank, and then right before turkey season he'll go back and get it out. He cherishes it so much. But but that was like when the older he got, I noticed it was even more and more pride that he would take in that when somebody would kill one using his wing bone, and they would come back the front porch, and they would tell him the whole story. And I mean, he was on cloud 9, listening to all that. And then of course he'd pick the phone up, call me, and have to tell me the whole story over again, and that's kind of how he'd call me, and he'd be like, well, another one down for Team, like that. And it just kind of kept going, and then it got natural just to say Team Wingbone's got another one. Every time we knew that he had made a call for or killed one, so that's kind of how that part of it got.
But
started.
as he aged, he couldn't. We started traveling. We'd usually take a one big trip a year, and always make a wing bone and give to it. But find someone that because we predominantly are almost always hunt public land, and he said if you see turkeys on private land and get permission to hunt it, give them a wing bone. So every trip that was too up in age, he couldn't go with us, and he'd give us one. And he's got them from Vermont to New Mexico to South Dakota. He's got them all over the country that we've given them to because he made them. We'd hand them out to let us, gave us permission to hunt. So
Man,
he's
that's
got a bunch
cool.
of them out there. But as Lil Turkey Hunter said, he never did say it. And it's the 2-piece wing bone. It's not the traditional 3-piece. It's a 2-piece we've always used, and that's what he made.
That's what me and Daddy were talking about. We would just love to know where, because grandpa's or my great grandpa and them, I know they were using them and making them like that. We're talking just the other day about we'd love to know where they found that. Who showed them or where they saw that style at, to start making it like that. A while back, I guess it was, I don't know, 5 or 6 months ago, I had a guy message me on Facebook and he's like, "Hey, I need you to call me," and I didn't know him, and it actually ended up, you may know him as Pedalahore. He's from right here, not too far from Denham Spring, and he makes a lot of calls and stuff. A lot of people know him, but I didn't recognize the name. I was like, well, I said he's wanting to talk turkey hunting, for sure. I said, what the heck, I'm gonna call him. So I picked the phone up, called him, and he said, "Is this Lil Turkey Hunter?" And I said, "It is." He says, "I got to know one thing." I said, "What's that?" He said, "I want to know exactly where y'all are from." And lo and behold, we are right there where he. And he said, that area right there is. I knew when I saw y'all's videos and that wing bone, I knew y'all had to be from somewhere right there, So, and he said, "I've killed turkeys on y'all side, where the old place is at." And we laughed about that. And I text him and talk time now, but I just thought that was funny. He said, I knew where that wing bone area
That's cool.
So, but I'd love to where they actually got that, that to make it. So
It is a very, very unique
about
wing
the wing
bone.
bone. It is, and I was going to tell you too. My grandfather's they built a Bass Pro Shop here in Denham Springs, and they got pictures of the community of the people, and we got pictures of my grandfather there, his brother, and in there, and they're holding the 2-piece wing bone. So that's kind of unique. I mean, the pictures got them from little small faded pictures, and I don't know what process they do it, but I mean they blew them up, enhanced them, and I mean they're beautiful. And I mean they're 4 by 6 feet long and all. And
Papa was probably in his early 80s when they built the Bass Pro Shop. I was about 32, 33 years old, and he to him and got all those pictures and then brought the original pictures back to him. That's a lot. I have all those now, but we couldn't wait for it to be built to go up there and see ones they used and where they put them at, So Papa and I go up there. I mean, it's opening day, and we go in there, and I'm walking around, and I was like, look, here's one right over. Look at it, and we going around and they got a guy looking, he's looking at the calls or something right there, and Papa has one of him holding a turkey up, and he bumped that guy. He said, "Me right there," and that guy said, and it was, of course, it was Papa, when he was 30 years old, and that guy said, "Well, it don't look like you, Papa. 50 years on you and see what you look like after 50 years."
He was probably puffed up as big as he could get when that happened, wasn't he?
was
He was strutting around Bass Pro that day, son. He couldn't wait to get back and tell everybody.
Man, that's pretty funny. Turkey, I wanted to ask you, did you and your dad, did you guys go to any of the seminars that were real popular back in the 60s and 70s? The guys were putting on like the turkey calling demonstrations. You guys were entrenched. You didn't need to do it. You were doing the seminars, weren't you?
No, we didn't do it. I played basketball, and we were tied up a lot with that, but we never did go to that. Now later on, we got to take him, and one of the local chapters here recognized at one of the
NWTF
banquet. They recognized him, presented him with a certificate or whatever, and so he was happy about that. But he was happy about recognized like that. But he was nervous because later in his year, degeneration could, and he was afraid to go up front of this. I mean, it was 200, 300, 400 people at this thing, and you got to go with me. So we had to kind of steer him up there, but he enjoyed that. He it was fun. Glad he got.
That's really neat. What a story. Have you guys started planning 2024 yet? Did you start as soon as 23 ended?
Yes, we might have been planning during the season. So we got a few trips planned. Not the whole season; it's not nailed down yet. But we got 2 or 3 years and 2 or 3 maybes. So hopefully all that'll work out. Some of them's return states and dates. I think we've picked Washington, so we may gonna go there. That's gonna be the big Wingbone trip. We all make sure we all get to go together on one each year, and that's gonna be Washington. Hind leg is all the cap. He made it official.
That we always give him a hind leg is sketchy. I mean, we don't know where if we're gonna have to be sleeping in the slicker suit or what. We don't know what he's got booked.
He's a trip, man. Yeah. There's a little delay. I'm sure you guys are hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just have to pause, and when I edit them out, I'll see like the gaps in the audio, and it's really easy to edit out. And so it'll just sound like
squeeze it together.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gotten good at having to compensate for crappy internet over the last like 4 years since I've been doing this. So. I've got my big trip this year. I've got 2 of them. I'm going to Texas with some of my friends. We're going to hunt some Rios, and then I'm going to Nebraska with a couple buddies from Michigan. We're going to go out and hunt. So I'm really looking forward to that. I've last couple of years I've really hit like the Southeast, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky hard. And I keep telling myself like I need to broaden I want to go north. I want to go to the Vermont and Maine and New Hampshire and Wisconsin. And then I'm like, it gets down to the planning time and I go west. So I don't, yeah.
Well, hind leg had the pressure on you last year.
He did. You guys messed me up. Yeah. I got stuck on second base.
Got cracked under the pressure, huh?
Yeah, because you were texting Lil Turkey Hunter when you were headed down to Florida, and out there y'all were going back and forth. And, right.
Yeah, I killed Osceola, and I got my Ohio bird like on the 3rd day of the season, and I had a trip planned. I had tag going to Montana, and I ended up I couldn't make it out there. I had stuff pop up for work and stuff pop up at home, and taking a 24-hour drive because I was, I'd waited. I was just like, I'll drive and then I'll hunt my way back was my plan. That I got blown out of the water. So once that the Merriam's tag, I had to eat that. I'm like, I couldn't make it happen. So I got stuck on second base. Yeah.
Stuck on second.
Now, one thing about Nebraska and we talked earlier about the 870 and the 2 3/4 inch shell. Well, we went to Nebraska one year. We were on an Indian reservation, and that's almost like public land because there's a bunch of folks there or whatever. And we were calling turkeys up and shooting them. And, I mean, we were shooting them, 45, 50 steps maybe, and we'd shoot them, and they'd get up and run off. And we couldn't figure out. And until they came out with what we call the Missouri shell or the TSS or whatever, we didn't have the firepower when we back in whatever year it was to kill those turkeys. I don't know if they had more feathers on that further north. I don't know, but we missed a whole bunch of turkeys. We just didn't have the knockdown power. So sure you bring some horsepower with you.
I started hunting with the TSS a couple years ago. And that stuff, I mean, it does a number. If you're within 40 yards, I mean, it'll just
lights
smoke
out.
them. And and it's very. The Ohio turkey that I shot this year, I shot him from probably 15 yards. Didn't even flop. I mean, it was just done. Just no movement. Very, very humane, very ethical.
Absolutely. That's what I like about them the most. Yeah.
Man, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I've been watching a lot of I don't watch a ton of YouTube or TV. I've got we got 2 young kids, so if I try to like watch a turkey hunting video, they freak out, you know. And then like when the kids are in bed, my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm watching a Team Wingbone video." Like she'll just stare at me like, "What are you doing?" You know. So like my time is very very limited. So I've been trying to sneak in a couple of the Nebraska videos that I've seen, and it's one of those like it's so different from Central Ohio or the hardwoods of the Eastern U.S. And I am. If this doesn't happen, I'm going to be so disappointed. I'm trying not to hype myself up, but it's happening. I've already hyped myself up. So now,
Have you ever killed a Rio?
No, no. Mm-mm.
No.
No. I've only hunted.
You still need the Rio for a slam.
Yep. And hopefully so I've got the Texas hunt planned, and then I mean if I can finish my Grand Slam next, I mean I'll be thrilled. You know, I wanted to do it last year, the single season, but I think if I can get it done, I'll be happy. You know, that's
absolutely.
Well, I hope you do.
Just getting it done. That's the fun part of it.
Yeah. I was talking with someone the one, like I guess trophy that I really like, the 49 states. Like I would love to do that, and maybe once my kids are older and I can like comprehend hunting more than 3, 4, 5 states a year. I'll think about it, but I want to do the kill a turkey in every month of the year. That's like the one, like accomplishment, I guess, that I'm like, man, I really want to do that because it would be so cool. It's such a different style of hunt, all 12 months. You really have to cover, and it doesn't have to be like in 1 year. I just want to do it. I think that'd be really neat.
Just
over
one in each month.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, trying to hear that'd be too stressful for me. I don't know if I can handle that.
Oh, I couldn't. There's no way. Yeah, no way. I mean, I'd have to get divorced and.
That's right.
Yeah, be like, I love you. I'll see you in a year.
That's right. That's I'd never killed the single season Grand Slam. We killed the Grand Slam way back there in early like 2004 and 5, and I think it was just a couple years ago. I accidentally killed 3. I had the Osceola, the Merriam, and the Eastern, and all I had left was the Rio. And a friend of mine's like, still got a weekend left, and I'm like, yeah, but I mean, he's like, no, I mean, you've never done it, and you got to do it. I mean, y'all are Team Wingbone, and you've never killed. You give me the guilt trip. So then he pumps me up, and I drive from Louisiana to Kansas, and he said, that's the quietest I've ever heard you. I don't think I said 2 words. The closer we got to Kansas, the higher the pressure got for me. I don't know why. I mean, it's just another turkey, but just having that goal and having 3 days to do it, but I did get it done. So that was a relief.
Good.
And we were all laughing because I told Daddy, I said, no, I'm going in case I strike out. I don't, the rest of the group, hind leg, so they were hunting me like, where's Lil Turkey Hunter at? What's he doing this weekend?
So I had to cover for him.
He was covering for me, but I couldn't get that picture sent out quick enough when that turkey was on the ground.
Oh man, I bet they lost their minds when that picture came through.
Did they? I think they were starting. I think they were starting to smell a rat though there towards the end.
I'd read out of excuses for him, so they knew.
They knew.
Oh yeah.
Man, that's great. That's great. So what do you have any? Your big trips, Washington. That's another state. Now, Turkey Hunter, you better stretch and hydrate real well when you get out there, because it's just Washington. That just from the maps, man, it looks like it's pretty wild. So
it is. I usually start, in January trying to, but I kind of locate them for them, and if it's a good run for me, I go. If not, I hang back and y'all go for them, and I keep scouting for 'em. Dropping pins
now
instead of putting the Coke bottles on the limbs.
Yeah, man. What a transition from Coke bottles to Onyx dropping pins.
Exactly.
So,
I'm telling you.
Exactly.
who knows what's next? And that's one of those, like, and you guys have an online presence that people are. So it's almost like a reckoning, I guess. Like, we're as turkey hunters, as hunters, we're trying to figure out, like, what's acceptable, what's in good taste, what's the right way to do things. And I'm using air quotes. This is a podcast. People aren't saying what's the wrong way, and it's a slippery slope, I think, when you start thinking about it, like, internally, like with yourself, like, okay, what do I like to do? What do I think is right? Everyone's different, I guess, but I don't know, man. It's funny how, it's just like, unless you're using Coke bottles or Coke cans on a tree, it's just like we're all doing something. We've all evolved, So I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But we've been on this an hour. That went quick.
I'm telling you. That flew by.
Man. Yeah, it did.
The other day when you text me, you're like, "Hey, y'all want to hop on and talk turkey hunting?" I'm like, "Well, yeah. I mean, you don't even have to ask that."
Yeah,
and that's why when you're having fun, time flies.
It's one of, like, when Brent and I left it in the episode with Brent Rogers. We talked for 2.5 hours. Brent and I did.
Wow.
And it could have gone 5. And
right.
we'll do more, because that guy, he's the information that he's stuffed in his brain is amazing. But I even talked about it, like, what you're listening to is two guys that just get lost in a turkey hunting conversation. And I love it, man. It's like my favorite thing in the world, just talking about it. It's
Absolutely.
It's so easy to talk about. It's funny. And Joey Bell was another guest on the Dust Bowl series. And I asked him about, do you have any, like, any hunts that stick out? And he just, like, he kind of, like, talked, and it was funny because I just sat there and I just like, it was like, internally I'm laughing to myself because I know what he's doing. He's like, and he doesn't even know what he's doing, but I know because I'm watching it. He's like working down, and he's like, well, they're all great, and just kind of hits high level, and then he starts dipping into it, and then he talked for 20 minutes about one hunt. But he had to get through like 6, like, just little mini, like, quick stories. And then he just got into the one that just grabbed a hold of his heartstrings, But it was just funny because I'm just laughing, and I just like watch him just like evolve into this like just great moment, in his hunting career.
And I'll do that. We can get down into the weeds and talk about all the details on some of those hunts,
Yeah.
As the gobbler always says, there's a story behind every one of them.
Yeah.
And that's very true. I mean, very true.
I guess go ahead, Steve.
I said I've been glad that we've been able to capture some of these. I didn't realize how fortunate I was back then to be able to hunt with my dad and my grandpa that many times. I mean, it was just routine, and to be able to capture these now and get the camaraderie of the group, and because the guys that I'm hunting with, I mean, I've known all of them for 30. Some of them more than that, and then get to capture all of these with Daddy. I know one day I'll be able to sit back and cherish all of that. So,
no, that's absolutely right. That's the best part about turkey hunting is just is your friends, it's your family, it's the everything like that surround. It's the process, right? That's what I've really come to enjoy is just the process of hunting. And I don't mean
That's
just
right.
like looking at topo maps and listening, roosting birds. It's not that, it's just everything that around. And you guys do a really good job of, like, on your videos, of capturing the fun part, the important part of hunting. And I appreciate it, man. I really do.
Well, I appreciate that. We try to, like you said earlier, when you said I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera on, because that's when the good stuff happens. So that's what I learned quick. You got to leave the camera rolling to catch those parts,
Yeah.
you know. So that's the
Yeah.
stuff I want to remember when I get older.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we got our hats off to Lil Turkey Hunter because he's the one who comes up with the themes and the stories and the editing and takes the countless hours of video and editing it to make it just a 1 hour. I mean, a 1 minute clip. It takes
It equals about. It takes about 1 hour. 1 minute of video equals about 1 hour of editing. Is about what I've got it calculated. But I get one request from everybody that when somebody new or somebody that hadn't come on there much, and I turn the cameras on, they stop me. They're like, "Whoa, don't make me look like hind leg now." There ain't no amount of editing that can do that. Don't make me look like him, I said, that's natural. That just comes natural.
Now, I hope he listens. And Hind Leg, you have an invite to come on the show. Shots fired. Defend yourself. Defend your honor on the Turkey Season podcast.
We don't let him in public very often. So.
See, there we go.
There we go.
He's a hoot. There's something as is a resident of the northern states. There's something that you southern folks have about telling stories that I love, and the animated personalities, and Hind Leg like embodies that. The dude's a ball of energy, and I love it, man.
We get a kick out of him on those trips, and of course we're all poking fun at him and poking him, just trying to pump him up, So
get him all wound up.
Yeah, his favorite saying is, because we try to get him to film a little bit, but he don't want to do that. He said, "I'm in front of the camera." So I said, "Okay, you can be in front of the camera."
That's funny. Now let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Joey. Is there a particular hunt or hunts that have like just stand out in your mind for whatever reason? I mean, it could be a failure, it could be a success. I mean, it could be something not even like getting arrested, because you're just like in the wrong spot, like old Pete, he's got the wrong license plate,
Well, I think one of the ones we all the time is, when Papa got a little bit old, we wanted him to shoot because we knew it, he wasn't going to be able to kill very many more. So it was our goal to get him to kill one. And we were up there in Mississippi one morning and went to a spot and got out at daylight, and we standing there at the truck really and heard one gobbling, so we get all our stuff together and we take off down in there, and, we taking our time because he's early 80s, 83, 84 then. And we get down there and Papa and Daddy get kind of on the point of the ridge, see down in the bottom. Turkey's on the other ridge. He's just flew down and he's gobbling. And I'm kind of sitting back and to the right of him, just kind of got out of the way, just sitting there listening to the show, And Papa's calling to him, and long story short, Turkey, I could see him come off the hill and he comes down in that bottom and he's coming straight to us, gets about 60 steps. He takes a hard right. He starts flanking us, he's coming over on my side. So he gets up there about 25 steps from me and he putts. Well, I mean, we're on public land and you don't get a whole lot of opportunities, So I picked the gun up and busted him. And we go over there, and he's like, "Hey, that's all right. That's all right. You killed it." So we load that one up in the truck. We coming back by and we get to another one of our little honey holes. I told Daddy, I said, "Pull over here." Daddy pulled over and got out and we blew the crow call. Turkey gobbled, So he gets amped up again, he's got another shot. So we get all our stuff and down in there we go. And it was a fresh clear cut. I mean, bare dirt. And I ease up there and looked out there and I fall back to them, and I give them the intel report. I said the 7 hens, 1 long beard, 2 jakes out there, So he's
get out of the truck.
We find out we get in position, and we sit down on the edge of the clear cut. And when I sit down, I'm like, I'm way out in the open. I told him, I said, scoot over a little bit. Well, he Papa scooted over a little bit, and And Daddy sits down by me, and he's like, I'm in the wide open. And so I lean over and I tell Papa, I said, scoot a little more. So when he went down in a stump hole, and he said, I can't hardly see nothing. I said, you can see good enough. So he calls to the turkey, and he gobbles, and the long beard, he leaves 7 hens and comes 300 yards across a wide open clear cut. Me and Daddy's watching the whole show down in that stump hole. Said, I can't. Turkey walked up here 20 steps, and he's in full strut. Daddy, we like, okay, nothing. So Daddy killed him, so we always laugh at that. So when somebody gets pushed to the side, we said they got stuffed over in the stump hole,
That's it.
Oh yeah. Did you guys feel guilty for you both killed turkeys?
Yeah, I know. It was the gold kill, and we both ended up killing him.
Believe me, he let us know about it too.
That's it.
But I guess the one story that comes to my mind, and it was before he really started hunting. We were in Southwest Mississippi, and it was a series of hunts, and we would hunt in the same areas, and we had one particular turkey that we could not kill, and we hunted him for several years, and we named him Rojo. We would set out stand lines. We would go in quiet call, and I mean, we hunted him for several years in the same spot. We never did get him in the gunshot range. We'd glimpse him every now and then. And we finally think that he was so old that the gobbler would say he's too old to fly up in the tree to roost at night. He would roost on the stump. That's how old he was. But we hunted that turkey for years, and I can say that's the one turkey that I know that whipped Team Wingbone all those years, and it's no telling how many hours and hunt on him, but we never did get him. And but he was the bull of the woods, I guess. So
he even has a name road name.
We even named a road after him, the Rojo Road. So
The Rojo Road. I like it. I had a turkey. The only reason I know it's the same turkey is he had this really unique gobble. It sounded like his turkey had been smoking too many unfiltered cigarettes. And he just had this really it was just such a unique gobble, and he would yelp right after that. I mean, he was like,
really,
yeah. And I chased this turkey. I've never heard anything like it. And if I would have had any sense, it was probably 2010, maybe 2011. If I had any sense, I would have filmed it, just because it was I'd never heard a gobbler yelp that much. It was constant.
And he would do that every time.
big dog.
He would gobble, and it was just it was the loudest, just raspy. I mean, it just, I don't know if he was hurt. I have no idea. He was like that for 2 years, and he would gobble and just yow, 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 ow, yow, yow, and would just go right into it. And that's the only reason I was able to know that he was the same turkey that I was hunting. Yeah, because he was just such a unique. And I wanted to kill that freaking bird so bad, man. And it was public property, but it was surrounded by private. And I would get up to that. It was a creek that ran through, and it was a pretty deep creek. And I could never get that tree. And I saw him probably 5 times. And he would just be on that other side of the creek on the private where no one hunted, and he just yow, 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 yow. I would get so angry.
No telling you was, huh?
Right.
No. And I don't know, with a little experience under me now, if I'd have been able to, kill him, I don't know. You'll never know. But that's just one of those. Yeah, it's one of those turkeys. I can hear his gobble, and I can hear his yelp in my mind right now. And that was 12 years ago. I mean, he's dead for sure now. Something probably ate him.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
Either a human or something with 4 legs, but
it's
funny how good.
My friend of mine, he's our Louisiana turkey program manager, and he does all the trapping and stuff, and they do it for the stud. LSU, and he trapped one year as a Jake, and they wrote the band number down, all the information, and it was like 8 years later they called him again, and it was him. They matched it up. So and he
It's
actually
amazing.
died that year. They don't think he got. It was right after turkey season, maybe a month or two after. And they lost. They put a GS on him once they realized how old he was, and he ended up dying. And they think just old age, He was 9 years old.
We got the picture of the one that you trapped. You got last year was, I believe. You got the gun. We got that picture. I think you sent it to Stephen.
Yeah, I did. Because I remember we talked about it on one of our last interviews that you guys had done that. The trap and transfer, or the trapping and tagging. And last March I got to do that. That was like one of those moments in my life I will never forget that. That's the closest I've ever been to a live wild turkey. I mean, just holding them. It was funny because it was a hen study that Ohio State's doing with the ODNR, and then NWTF helped funded it. And I didn't want to hold any of the hens because I'm like, I don't want to be the guy that messes something up. So we're there, and there's a couple guys from Ohio State. There's some conservation workers, there's a bunch of biologists there, and then there's me, right? And so they've got a couple birds out there. There's two birds going. So there's just like an assembly line. You've seen it. They're drawing blood and tagging and doing all these things. So my job was awesome. I got to tag the hens, which was awesome. And so they were inspecting. I was just talking to the biologists, taking pictures and asking questions. And one of the biologists said something about a cloaca. You know what the cloaca is? I'm sure you guys have heard that term, right? No, I just learned about it. So the cloaca, and if you're a biologist listening to this, I'm going to butcher this, but it's like the do-all organ, I guess. Like it poops, it pees, it breathes. Like it's the do-all organ, right? And so this biologist is like, well, look at this. He says prolapse cloaca, and I was like, and so I'm like, what is that? Like the turkey butthole? And all of the biologists start laughing. And there was one of the other guys had a hen in his arms, and he starts laughing, and this hen just like starts flapping her wings and hits him right in the face and takes off. And I stood there. I'm like, oh shit. Like I just messed up. I'm sorry. Because I totally ruined. Everyone was laughing at the idiot,
Yeah, right. And y'all let the hen get away.
Well, hopefully just took off. They didn't have hopefully they didn't have the sock on her head.
No. Yeah. She had just come out of the box, and I guess in a good twist of fate, sucks for her, but she had been injured like previously, and she had like a really bad so there was something they weren't even going to put a collar, they weren't going to tag her, they weren't going to put a tracker on her because she was not healthy. So they were not going to they were I think they were drawing blood, tagging, putting a tag on her and then sending her on the way. But she was in really rough shape. And so she was the one that got away. So we didn't, the study didn't suffer, which is good. I would have felt terrible. But when she flew off, like my eyes were like the size of saucers, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like I thought the turkey butthole joke was like funny, and it was
right. That's right.
That was it. Yeah. It was too funny
because they working so hard to catch those turkeys, and I mean it's a process and a lot to it, So you lose one like that, and I was like you, I felt the same way. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to mess something up,
Yeah, and it was funny. So the Jake that I got to help, the picture that I sent you, it was a hen study. They didn't care. All they did was they took like the measurements just to see like overall health. They didn't draw any blood, and then I got to tag him, banned him, I guess. And then our state biologist, our program administrator, Mark Wiley, great guy, was like, do you want to hold him? Because he's not important in this study. And I'm like, yeah, are you kidding me? Hell yeah, absolutely. On all this thing. And so I didn't they are so incredibly strong. And that was a Jake bird. I mean, that was a young turkey. I can't imagine like a 4 or 5-year-old adult gobbler, how strong they are.
Yeah, Daddy got to turn one of those loose along there.
Cody and him, we caught one, and he had, 9, 10-inch beard, and he had spurs, and they were going to let me hold him and turn him loose after they did their deal. And I'm spurs, I'm saying now, how am I going to hold this thing? And I was concerned when I released him, is he going to pop a spur in me or whatever? But Cody, he was very careful. He shows, this is how you hold him. This is where you do it. Got my picture or whatever, and then put him down. And then it wasn't nothing. But I sure was watching those spurs. I did not want to get popped. But
it's a little bit to it too. You don't just turn him loose because you could injure them. He's like, Cody's giving me the instructions. Like, all right, when you put his feet down, you got to turn them loose and the turkey at the same time. And get back because you don't want to disjoint one of their legs. He's giving me all this, and I'm like, oh man, the pressure's on me. And I got 4 or 5 LSU students, 4 or 5 forestry people there, and I'm like, but
they
all
are.
went
They're
well.
very strong. They are.
What a great experience, and I feel very honored that I fortunate that I got to do something like that, and I'm sure you guys do. And it's I'll probably never get to do it again, honestly. And I absorbed every minute. It was funny when they dropped me off. So the state, they wouldn't let me. They have all these rules, so very safety procedures are in place, and I get it. And so the plan was for, all the important people took off, and they were going to come back and get me. And so they're like, just stay here. They were, so the rockets go off and you can hear this. Everyone jumps into action, drives off. And I'm just standing there. I'm pacing, man. I'm like a freaking caged animal, man.
Yeah.
I just start walking. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't wait. I'm like running through the woods, and it was just, I was so excited. And it was cool, man. It was such a cool experience. So what was the study that Louisiana was doing?
They're doing mostly studies on hen and the long beards and the jakes, but the hens is what they were putting the GPS tracking units on. The first group we caught, and they was and we caught them. I had the cameras there, so they let me actually sit in the blind and watch them push the button, and I'm filming the turkeys. Like you say, here comes the masses out of the woods because it's it's time crunch to get them in the boxes, get the blood drawn, get them banded, get them and get them turned back loose, just for the health of the bird. And I was just amazed at all, and I was right there with the camera and filming it all. I got plans to get it all put together, and that's going to be one of the first videos I put out this year. Is that if I can get it? I hadn't done it yet, so
yeah, that'll be really neat. It's I thought it was interesting. We had released the hens that had the GPS trackers on them. And I asked one of the Ohio State guys, because they had those little telemetry antenna looking things. You know what I'm talking about. And I was like, see how close they are. And all of the turkeys that we'd released just went through what I would say was probably the most traumatic event in their life. We're right there. They didn't go far at all.
Right.
Really?
Right.
And I'm like, what a great, I mean, if some giant picked me up and stuffed me in a box and you let me out, I'm going to run as far away from you as I can. And they're just over the ridge.
That's right.
Yep.
Crazy. Makes you wonder how far we scare, how far they go. Huh?
Right.
Yeah. So that made me think, like, okay, so how many turkeys have I spooked that are like 7
just
yards
gave
away?
up on.
I just have no idea. And I'm like, well, I better go find something else. And I just walked the other way.
That's right.
Pissed off.
That's right.
And they're like right there just waiting. So that's information. That's we should have monetized that part. That's the information you got paid for, right?
That's right. That's right. Don't leave it out.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't spook turkeys. That's something that I'll never stop doing. I'll never.
That's right.
You're going to, right?
Yeah.
I think
that's
just a given.
It's I spooked I don't think I told you guys this story. When I was in Florida, I hunted in the Everglades. Steve, you and I talked a lot about that. That place is wild.
Yes, indeed.
insane. And then so I went up. I was still in the south zone, but I was in kind of like the central part of the state, just wild. And I was with a friend of mine. We were hunting in a cypress swamp, thick. You know how Florida is, and a turkey
Absolutely.
gobbled. And like in Ohio, like if you're a turkey hunter, you know it leafs out in Ohio or Kentucky, wherever you're at, and you're like, you know, so you know that like when they gobble, they're closer because it's not traveling as far.
Right.
And Florida being so thick, I didn't realize like that's like amplified. I heard a turkey gobble, and I took one step and I look, and this thing was like 30 yards from me. I'm like,
That's right.
wow, he's that close, like because it's so dense and thick, and he spooked out, and I'm like, my heart just like popped out of my chest. I'm like, that was it. That was my one chance. That was my one chance to kill an Osceola.
Blew it.
And yeah,
That's
and
what
I
you
stood
thought.
there. My friend was with me, and he's like, he's never turkey hunted. He's like, what do we do now? I'm like, I don't know, man. Go back to Ohio, freak out, throw this gun. Like I'm just like I am losing my mind. I'm so mad because if I would have just sat down, I would have killed this turkey. I mean, he was just ready to die. But I just didn't like because it's so thick there. I just like my
You
Ohio
misjudged
northern.
him,
I did,
right?
and it just
misjudged
You were
the
not
distance.
used to it, right? That's
Yeah.
it. It
And
would
so
definitely throw you off.
it's crazy how it is, and just experience, right? You can't. You got to
That-
learn it. You know, you got to go through it.
That's right.
So
A buddy of mine, we went down there. I told him, I said, don't let it fool, because we're just used to judging distance. And I told him, I said, when they on the ground, don't let him fool you. He's closer than you're gonna think he is. And
yeah,
and he saw that immediately. He's like, I can't believe that you said it. I said, that's true.
it's unbelievable. Yeah,
Almost distance cut in half down there to me for what I'm used to hearing and judging distance.
yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. I mean, because that turkey was, I mean, he's probably less than 30 yards, but in my mind, I'm like, that turkey's 150 yards away, and
That's right.
unless it was another turkey, I don't think so. But so the next one, and it was just pure dejection. I'm like, we went back to the camper, and I'm hating on myself, and it was my last day to hunt. I'm like, dude, we got to go. Like, I got to go back out there. I'm not going out like this. And so we're sitting on this like little clearing, and it's 95 degrees. I'm sweating. My buddy Clyde's sweating. I turn around and look at him. And he's just dumping sweat, and bugs are all over us. And he's never turkey hunted. I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, he's hating his life. Like, he's just
He is. He's miserable.
What
Yeah,
has Paul
and that-
got me into?
He was just like, this sucks. I'm like, dude, it doesn't suck. Like, it's got pow. And gobbled like right over my shoulder. And I have my mask off, the gun's down. I'm looking at him. People that are, if they're, I think I told the story with Joe, I'm not sure, but he just walked out. And I mean, he just gobbled a couple more times. Like, you just feel in your heart. He's drumming. And I shoot this turkey, and my friend Clyde comes up and he's like, I didn't know that's what they sounded like. He's like, that sounded like an alien. I mean, it was just like robotic. He's like, this is amazing. I'm like, I know, man. I'm trying to tell you, like, this is it. So,
That's right. That's when I brought Boone, a real good friend of mine down there. He had never killed an Osceola, and we went down there last year, and we had one goblin. I'm judging him about 70 steps in front of us. Called to him, he gobbles. I mean, we for sure got a pinpoint on him in front of him, and then all of a sudden I can hear one strutting. I mean, just right there. And I'm like, that can't be that turkey. And I told Boone, I said, there's another turkey right here close somewhere. And about that time he gobbles, and he's 10 steps behind me. Boom, and I got all looking over his shoulder. And I didn't even have to tell him don't move because he knew, we was locked down. Let the turkey walk off, and we got turned around, and then I called to him, and he come right back where he was at. And Boone shoots him, and he was so shook up that he wasn't holding on to the gun tight enough and busted his nose.
oh my
On
God.
his first Osceola, his eyes are watering. He can't even see it. He's like, I can't even see my first Osceola, and I'm supposed to be excited.
Gosh.
Is my nose broke?
Oh my
He
gosh.
kept asking me, is it broke? Is it broke? So then we had to, he asked his wife in the picture, or when he's FaceTiming her that we really were turkey hunting. putting on a Florida beach at a bar room or something, you know,
Yeah.
that bar room fight.
Oh my gosh. That's funny. You know, I've said this, and I'm sure you guys will agree, but some of the best turkey hunts I've been on, the most memorable, the ones that I don't pull the trigger. You come out bloodied,
Absolutely.
man. They just lose. And I went to New York last year. I hunted. Their season runs like after Memorial Day, and so I hunted like the Friday. I hunted a couple times in New York that year, but my last turkey of the year was like the Friday, or I think it was the Saturday before Memorial Day. And man, I get out in the woods, and I get a turkey to gobble one time on the roost, and he flies down, he hits the ground, he gobbles again. I see him come out on this little ridge, and I was proud of myself, man. I was tucked in. I found, like, do you ever like walk by a tree or a bush, or like, that's it, man. That's a turkey killing setup. I'm gonna sit down right there. A turkey's gonna die right over there. Boom. It's all worked out. So I had this great high. I'm like, this is beautiful, man. I got this old hay, cow pasture in front of me. And he comes up on this ridge, and I had this little tiny hen decoy. That's all I had. And he's out on this ridge. He's probably about 70 yards. I can see him just like walking back and forth, looking at this hen, he gobbling. I'm just like, dude, come on, man. Like, and in my mind, I'm like, okay, if he takes the first step, he's going to take the rest of them. I need you to take the first step heading downhill. Let's get this done. I know you want to. And he turned around and comes into the woods. And that hide was so good, I couldn't move. Like, because I was just kind of like surrounded by honeysuckle. And so I had like this area just in front of me that's the killing zone. So I couldn't move. And he comes in, I can hear him walking through. I'm like, man, he's going to come in and he's just going to circle me and pop out, and I'm going to shoot him. He's scratching around the leaves, and I'm like sucked up. And if you're listening to this, like, I'm like leaning against I'm like my knees are up, man. I'm up against this tree. I'm as small as I can get. My heart is pounding. My eyes are, fuzzing out. And I'm like, man, he's close, because I can hear him scratching. And I look out of the corner of my eye, and I can see his tail feathers like within arm's length. And I'm like, oh man. And I'm just like, I couldn't look at him. Like, once I saw, because he's facing the other way, and he's scratching in the leaves. And he goes behind me, and he's like behind the tree. I'm like, man, if he gobbles,
got me nervous right now.
Oh man, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, if he gobbles, I'm going to pass out. Like, it's just it. Like, I am going to die in this bush, in the state of New York, if he gobbles. And so he gobbles, and I am like, I had to set my gun down. I'm like, I can't hold this thing anymore. And I am shaking uncontrollably. I can't breathe. He is right behind me, and he just like walked, and I was so wore out emotionally that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even think about, because I was so hidden so damn well. I couldn't like turn. I'm like, I just gotta like let this play out just a little more and just be patient. And long story short, I came home empty handed. But like, just seeing his tail feathers, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'll never forget that hunt. And I didn't even pull the trigger. I got it. I ran the trigger. I saw him. He rolled all the way down this hill, and I hiked as far out as I could and got in. Never heard him gobble again.
I'll be.
And I stand up, and I'm like looking at my phone, because you can only hunt until noon. Like, you have to be out of the woods. And I'm looking at my phone. I'm trying to see how much time is left. And I put my phone down, and I see running away from me.
Oh,
and I just stood there, and I'm like, I'm going to cry. That's it. That's it. Like, this is my last hunt of the year. This is how it's going to end. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even going to be mad about it. What a day. And I just like walked out of the woods. Like, I can't even, like, but it was just one of those, like, man, just the interactions. I just, you got to enjoy it, man. You don't always have to win. You got to love it.
That's right.
That's right. True. You got to let some get away. So, and that's like you say, that's some of you remember the most, So you had my heart beating fast.
Yeah,
oh my God,
stuff there too. Yeah.
Oh, I have too. Like, I'll never. Just like the internal conversations, like, you got to put the gun down, and you're going to scare this turkey. Like, you were shaking so bad, that thing's bouncing all over the air. Like, if you want any chance, you got to stop. And that's what you do. That's one of the.
Yeah,
That's one of the things that I've enjoyed the most, with doing our filming and, during the edit to hear our conversations right there that minute before, or something that you say that you don't realize you say, or some of the stuff you do, and or all the shaking, and I can hear myself holding my breath, and then doing the editing. My wife, she bumps me. She's like, "You need to breathe." I'm like, I'm reliving the hunt right here.
Yeah, you're just like locked in, like you were there.
That's it.
That's it.
Just
That's
like
it.
she said, well, you've already seen it. You've been there.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but this is like the first time again,
Yeah, like shh, 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 scare the turkey. Stop talking.
Yeah, don't move.
That's
Don't
it.
talk. Don't move.
Yeah,
But
she
what's
touches
funny,
you and
though-
you jump out of your chair.
That's
Sorry, go ahead.
right.
but what's funny though, when he edits it, we break down the game film, and Hind Leg is notorious for saying, "I hurt that turkey." Well, we back the film up and we slow it down, and the turkey standing here, Hind Leg shoots like this, the leaves fly in front of the turkey, and the only thing to hit the turkey is the dirt. But he swears that he hit the turkey.
He's 3 foot off.
Yeah, he's 3 foot off.
Oh gosh, come on,
So
hind leg.
that game film, the film, it shows the true story,
It
of
shows
what went
the true
on and what
story.
happened.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my gosh, man. Well, gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for your time today and what you put out into the turkey hunting world, and what you bring to to the turkey hunting culture in this country. You guys are some of my favorite people. And are you going to be in
We
Nashville? That's my next question. February.
I said last year there was that could keep me from coming to Nashville, that I was coming. Well, I lied to myself because fixing to start building a new house. So I just don't see no way. Yeah. So it's either sacrifice February or March. And I'm going to have to pick February this year.
I don't blame you there. I totally understand that. So
yeah.
He's actually season in March. So.
Right.
He's actually on the gobbler where his was. So we house out of the way. So that's where he's going to actually build. So he carry on the heritage.
That's
We're
cool.
going to have.
Yeah, that's so cool.
The turkey beards hanging up over there, and the smokehouse and everything. So the legend lives on. So.
Yes, it does. What a story. What a family. Where can people find you guys, Team Wingbone, on social media?
We're Team Wingbone, and on just about any social media site, we own it. If we ain't on it, let me know. We'll get on it.
There you go.
So we even gotten on Camo Space. That's one of the new ones, So I noticed Instagram and some of those other ones are starting to put up kind of messages, sensitive content and all that kind of stuff. So I said, well, that may be the next site we all have to migrate to.
Yeah, that's like one of those I hate that that's happening on Instagram.
Yeah.
I saw one of your videos today got flagged for sensitive content or whatever, and it was a video of like some turkeys on a fence line.
Yeah,
there's no
two turkeys out in the field gobbling.
Yeah,
that was
it. There was no shooting involved. There was nothing. Even I don't know. That's a threat that from it's real. It's the world that we live in, and
Yep.
I think the content that is content creators that we put out, I think that we need to be respectful of, and you guys do a hell of a job of doing that and portraying what we do. And as turkey hunters, it's best foot forward with you guys, and I'm glad we're friends.
Thank you. Glad to be friends with you. So, but yeah, you're right. Everyone has, we got a responsibility. If we enjoy sharing our hunts and our pictures and stuff like that, but you got to be mindful that other people are against that, so that you got to be respectful of all that and think about it before you post it.
Sure. Yep, absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and Merry Christmas to you guys and your families, and
Merry Christmas to you. All right, thank you for having us, and we're gonna pass the message on the hind leg for you.
Make him listen to it. Don't tell him you should listen to that episode.
All right, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
And then when his head explodes, tell him let's get him on there. So. We'll get him all wound up.
Right.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Don't hang up yet.
Oh, okay.
It